As we grow older, it's natural to think about where and how we'll spend our golden years. For many, the idea of living close to their children seems like the perfect arrangement, helping with the grandkids, spending more time together, and being there for each other as a family. It sounds idyllic, doesn't it? A heartwarming vision of family closeness, security, and connection. But what if I told you that this dream of living near your children could lead to unexpected challenges, even heartache? Based on countless stories shared online, from forums, communities, and personal anecdotes, living close to your children as you age might not be the best idea after all. Today, we're going to explore why this seemingly perfect situation often results in unintended consequences. We'll delve into the complexities of family dynamics, personal independence, and the emotional toll that can come with moving too close to your kids in your later years. Most importantly, we'll talk about how to find a balance that preserves both your independence and your relationships. 1. You may become a burden to your children. One of the most common concerns shared by aging parents is the fear of becoming a burden. As we age, it's only natural that we'll need more support, whether it's help with daily tasks, health issues, or simply needing companionship. Initially, your children might welcome the idea of having you close by. They may even be excited about it, thinking about all the time you'll get to spend together. But over time, things can change. Your children are likely in the busiest phase of their lives. They're balancing careers, raising their own families, and managing their households. Adding your needs to their already packed schedules can create feelings of unspoken resentment. They love you, of course, but the pressures of life make it harder for them to give you the time and attention they want to provide. One woman on Reddit shared her story, saying, "I moved closer to my daughter because I wanted to be part of her life and help with my grandchildren. But slowly, I realized I was asking for too much help myself. I became a burden to her, even though she never said it. It broke my heart, and now I feel stuck." In Western cultures, especially in the US, UK, and much of Europe, personal independence and self-reliance are highly valued. The last thing most of us want is to feel like we're burdening our loved ones. And yet, that's exactly what can happen when we move too close and need more help than our children are prepared to offer. What often starts as a loving arrangement can turn into a source of tension. Your kids may feel torn between their responsibilities to their own families and their obligation to you. As parents, we never want to put that kind of pressure on our children. So how do we avoid this situation? It's important to maintain your independence as long as possible. If you need help, consider hiring professionals for tasks like house cleaning, grocery shopping, or medical care. This can relieve some of the pressure on your children while allowing you to live close by without feeling like a burden. 2. Loss of independence and identity. Another significant issue that arises when parents move close to their children is the gradual loss of independence. While it's easy to rely on your kids for small things like transportation, running errands, or helping with everyday decisions, this can slowly chip away at your sense of self-reliance. One man who moved next door to his son shared his experience. At first, it seemed so convenient. But within months, I found myself constantly asking for small favors, picking up groceries, driving me to appointments. Eventually, I stopped doing many things on my own because it was easier to ask for help. I feel like I've lost the confidence to do things by myself. Independence is a fundamental part of our identity, especially in Western societies. Losing that independence, even in small ways, can have a profound impact on our self-esteem and mental well-being. When we live too close to our children, it's easy to fall into the habit of relying on them for things we used to do ourselves. But this dependency doesn't just affect us, it can also strain the relationship between parent and child. Over time, you may start to feel like you're losing control over your own life, and your children may feel overwhelmed by the added responsibility. Maintaining distance forces us to stay active, both mentally and physically. It encourages us to take care of ourselves and hold on to our sense of autonomy. This is crucial for a fulfilling and healthy life as we age. Consider living independently but close enough that visits are easy, without creating a constant sense of dependency. 3. Strained relationships. Living close to your children might sound like a way to strengthen family bonds, but in reality, it often leads to strained relationships. Proximity can magnify every little issue, turning small annoyances into major sources of tension. Many older parents report that moving closer to their children unintentionally reverts the relationship back to a parent-child dynamic, where advice and opinions are freely given even when they aren't wanted. One mother shared her experience on an online forum. "I thought living next to my son would mean we'd have more quality time. But instead, it's like I'm always in his way. I give my opinion too much, which he doesn't appreciate. It's driving a wedge between us." In Western societies, family dynamics can shift as children become adults and parents take on more of a supportive role. However, when parents live too close, the boundaries between parent and child can blur, leading to conflicts. Offering advice is natural for parents, but when you're physically close, it can become overbearing. Children, especially those raising their own families, often want to make decisions independently. Too much unsolicited advice can lead to feelings of resentment on both sides. Living further away creates a healthy space for both you and your children to grow as individuals. Your interactions will likely become more intentional, and there will be fewer opportunities for daily frustrations to arise. Distance helps maintain the respect and boundaries necessary for a positive relationship. 4. Limited social life and increased isolation. It may seem counterintuitive, but moving closer to your children can sometimes lead to increased feelings of isolation. When you rely too much on your children for companionship and social interaction, you might unintentionally neglect to build your own community of friends and peers. I came across a story of a woman who moved close to her son, assuming she would be included in family gatherings and social events. However, she soon realized her son's life was much busier than she had anticipated. "I uprooted my life, left behind my friends and community, thinking I'd be part of my son's daily life. But he's so busy, and I've ended up feeling more isolated than ever." In the US, UK, and across Europe, maintaining a social network outside of family is critical to mental and emotional well-being. Relying solely on your children for companionship can leave you feeling lonely, especially if their lives are full of work and other commitments. When you live independently, you're more likely to seek out social activities, meet new people, and maintain a sense of purpose. Joining local clubs, taking up hobbies, or becoming part of a retirement community can add vibrancy to your life, something you may miss out on if you focus too much on family proximity. Building relationships outside of your family helps you stay engaged with the world and reduces feelings of isolation. It's important to cultivate these connections so that your life remains full and satisfying, even when your children aren't around. 5. Guilt and obligation on both sides. Living near your children can create an atmosphere of guilt, where both sides feel an unspoken obligation to meet each other's expectations. As a parent, you might feel guilty for asking for help, while your children may feel guilty when they can't assist or visit as much as you'd like. One woman shared a poignant story about how she constantly felt torn between her aging parents, who lived just down the street, and her own busy life. Every time I couldn't help them, I felt guilty. But I also felt resentment building up because I wanted to focus on my career and kids. It's a no-win situation. In Western cultures, the idea of individual responsibility often creates a strong sense of guilt when we feel like we're failing to meet the expectations of those we love. This dynamic can become even more intense when parents live close to their adult children. The proximity increases the pressure on both sides to be more available and involved in each other's lives. When you live independently, that constant tension of obligation melts away. Visits become more cherished, and there's less pressure to meet unspoken expectations. By giving each other space, you allow your relationship to thrive without the added strain of constant availability. 6. You risk missing out on new experiences. Living near your children can limit your sense of adventure and willingness to explore new environments. When you settle close to family, there's a tendency to fall into routines, assuming that being nearby provides a sense of security. However, this comfort zone may rob you of the chance to experience new places, meet diverse people, and engage in activities you've always wanted to try but never had the opportunity. A man shared his story about moving to a different state after retiring. Instead of settling near his kids, my daughter was disappointed. But moving to a new city has brought me so much joy. I joined local clubs, made new friends, and found a community that shares my interests. I would have never done this if I had stayed close to my kids. Retirement is a time of newfound freedom. And for many, it's the perfect opportunity to explore the world, try new things, and rediscover passions that may have been put on hold. In Western societies, there's a growing movement toward active retirement, whether that means traveling, relocating, or simply embracing new hobbies and experiences. When you live close to your children, you might feel anchored to one place, missing out on the chance to live life on your own terms. Choosing a different path for your retirement, whether it's traveling, relocating to a new city, or even living in a retirement community, can provide a wealth of experiences that keep you engaged and excited about life. 7. Your children may not be ready for the responsibility. Most adult children aren't emotionally or practically prepared to take on the responsibility of an aging parent nearby. This can put an enormous amount of pressure on them, even when they try to handle it gracefully. One woman on a forum shared how her mother moved close by after her father passed. It seemed like a good idea at first, but then I realized I wasn't ready for this kind of responsibility. I'm trying to balance work, raising my own kids, and now I'm also helping my mom more than I ever thought I would. In Western cultures, where independence and self-reliance are deeply valued, many adult children struggle with the emotional and practical demands of caring for an aging parent. It's important to recognize that your children may still be navigating their own lives, and they may not be ready to take on the role of caregiver. When you live at a distance, you give your children the emotional space to prepare for this eventuality on their own terms. While they'll undoubtedly be there for you when you need them, it's better to allow them to come to that role naturally, instead of feeling obligated prematurely. 8. You deserve to focus on yourself. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that being near your children is the best way to find meaning in your later years. But what about you? After spending decades working, raising your family, and making sacrifices for others, it's finally time to focus on your own needs, passions, and desires. This is your time. A heartwarming story I came across was from a woman who moved to a beach town by herself after retiring. I spent my whole life taking care of everyone, my kids, my husband, even my aging parents. I thought my next step would be to move closer to my kids. But I realized I had spent enough of my life being what other people needed. I found a place by the ocean. And for the first time in decades, I'm doing things for me. In Western cultures, there's a growing emphasis on self-care and personal fulfillment, especially in later life. Your retirement years should be about rediscovering yourself, reigniting your passions, and enjoying the freedom that comes with this stage of life. Whether it's traveling, taking up new hobbies, or simply enjoying quiet time on your own, focusing on your personal growth and happiness benefits both you and your relationship with your children. They'll see you thriving, and it will bring them joy to know that you're living a fulfilling life. 9. Your children's parenting choices may frustrate you. Living close to your children often means seeing more of their parenting styles up close. While that might sound like a great way to bond, it can actually lead to frustration if you don't agree with their choices, whether it's about discipline, education, or even what they feed their kids. One grandmother shared her experience. "I never realized how much I'd struggle with my daughter's way of parenting until I lived nearby. I want to help, but we're constantly butting heads over small things like how much TV they let the kids watch or how they handle tantrums. It's exhausting, and I sometimes regret moving so close." Generational differences in parenting can create friction, especially when you live in close proximity. It's natural to want to offer advice, but when you're nearby, it's easy to get too involved in your children's parenting decisions, leading to conflicts that strain the relationship. Living at a distance allows for a healthier balance. You won't be as exposed to the day-to-day decisions your children are making, which can help reduce the chances of conflict. This space allows your children to make their own choices without feeling judged, and it gives you the emotional distance to accept those choices, even if they differ from your own. 10. Proximity can lead to overstepping boundaries. Even with the best intentions, living too close to your children can make it difficult to maintain healthy boundaries. It's easy to start popping over unannounced, expecting frequent visits, or becoming overly involved in their daily lives. This can unintentionally put pressure on your kids to respond to your needs at all times, leading to emotional exhaustion on both sides. One woman shared, "I love my mom, but after she moved nearby, I started to feel like I was constantly on call. She dropped by unexpectedly, and while she just wanted to chat, I felt like I had no privacy or space. I started to resent her, and I know she felt hurt by my pulling away." Maintaining boundaries is essential for both parties to keep a sense of autonomy and mutual respect. In Western societies, personal space and privacy are highly valued. And when those boundaries are blurred, it can lead to feelings of resentment or emotional exhaustion. Living further apart helps enforce those natural boundaries more easily. It allows your kids to maintain their family life while giving you the space to enjoy yours. Regular, planned visits become special and appreciated, rather than an expectation that can lead to tension. 11. The grandparent role can be overwhelming. Being close to your grandchildren can be a wonderful experience. But for many, it can also become overwhelming. If you live nearby, there's often an unspoken expectation that you'll be heavily involved in babysitting, school pickups, or simply spending large amounts of time with your grandkids. While this might be fulfilling for a while, it can start to wear you down, especially if you feel obligated to help out, even when you'd rather focus on your own needs. One grandfather shared, "I moved closer to my daughter thinking I'd enjoy more time with my grandkids. I love them dearly, but now I find myself watching them almost every day. And it's exhausting. I'm retired, but I feel like I've taken on a new job. I don't know how to say no without causing tension, but I miss my free time." In Western cultures, retirement is often seen as a time to relax and enjoy life without the responsibilities of work or caregiving. However, living close to your grandchildren can sometimes blur the lines between being a grandparent and becoming a full-time caregiver. Living at a distance allows you to set boundaries more easily. You can still be an involved grandparent, but on your own terms and without feeling like you're stepping into a full-time caregiving role. This ensures that your relationship with your grandchildren remains joyful, rather than a source of stress or obligation. Living too close to your children in old age may not be the dream scenario you envision. It can lead to feelings of being a burden, a loss of independence, strained relationships, and even isolation. Your best life may actually be one where you maintain distance, both physically and emotionally, while still nurturing those connections. And it's not about abandoning your family or distancing yourself emotionally. It's about giving yourself the freedom to live your best life while allowing your children to do the same. It's about balance, staying close in spirit, but giving yourself and your children the space to live your lives fully and independently. Your golden years should be about self-fulfillment, maintaining your identity, and thriving in ways that go beyond the proximity of family. Trust me when I say that your family will appreciate you more when they see you thriving and living a life full of purpose. You'll find that the space, both physical and emotional, creates stronger bonds, healthier relationships, and a happier life for everyone involved. Feel free to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, remember to give it a like and subscribe to help us reach more wonderful people like you.